What's going on, guys? Kim Lee here. I am here with my 2023 in the bag. Um, I've been playing for about 3 years now, so I think I'm at that point where I've kind of figured out what discs work for me and what don't, and I'm pretty confident with the bag that I have now and all of my discs and all the choices. So let me do a quick run through of them. I know it's in the bag, but it's more so like in the cart. I made this cart when I first started almost 3 years ago. PVC. I got the putter pouch. Got little cool little accessories. Nice little chair here. I made everything from scratch for the most part. Way cheaper than a sorry, there's a mosquito here. Than a Zuka, and it's lasted me so far almost 3 years. Can't complain. We start out with the putters. I putt with the Exo Hard Links. To me, they feel really, really good in the hand. It's nice and round. I don't mind the bead, and I definitely feel like this is probably the best feeling putter that I've actually used. I mean, I've gone through a bunch of them. People who know me have seen me switch putters every few months, and the links are what I'm going with right now, and I really like it. Throwing putters, got a few of them actually. I've got Exo Soft Link, really like it for up shots. I like the stability. The soft plastic feels good to kind of dig my fingers into and just kind of rip on. And the stability, I mean, I can't ask for anything more. Finish is nice and soft, no crazy skips or anything like that. Really recommend an Exo Soft Link if you haven't thrown one before. For my straight putter, I throw the Exo Soft Logic. This disc for me is awesome because for up shots, even shots up to like 250, that I just want a dead straight shot, I go to this. I can throw it on a hyzer, hold the hyzer. I can throw an ante, it holds an ante, and I've been looking for like a straight putter just right out of the box, and this Logic is, I mean, it's everything that I wanted, and I mean, I feel real confident when I throw straight shots with this because I know it's not going to do anything crazy. Still putters. Two more putters. This is one of the oldest discs I have in my bag. It's a Glow AVR X3, and it's super puddle toppy. They start out pretty overstable, but I've gotten to the point where it's beat in nice, where it still has stability, but it's still good for forehands and backhands. And when I need a disc for forehand just to push straight for a long amount of time, but also just have a slight finish, I mean, I always reach for the AVR X3, and it feels really good for forehand. Backhand, it feels good also, and the puddle top is just ideal. And then my understable putter is this Discraft Soul. Most of the soles that I tried out before are pretty domey. This one is pretty flat and feels really good in the hand. This I throw mostly just backhand, but if I throw it flat with a decent amount of power, it just carries to the right and just drifts. It doesn't dive over and cut roll. I can still hyzer flip it, a little touch of hyzer, pops up to flat. Really, really good disc for beginners and amateurs too, if you guys want to check it out. And it's a really flat run. Couple more putter slash mids. I throw mainly for back or forehands the Discraft Zone, the Z Zone. I like the stiffness, but it's still a little soft. I know I can throw it hard, and it's always going to come back. It's got that reliable finish, and it's just I like the diameter. It's not one of those big mids, and just, I mean, it's a zone. Everybody knows how zones fly. Super overstable approach disc, mainly forehands, Prodigy A2. I've heard that this run is a lot beefier than the normal A2s, but this is for like headwinds or forehands when my forehands aren't feeling good or aren't that clean. I know I can just chop at this and it's always going to come back right. Super reliable disc. I don't throw it too crazy often, but I definitely have to slot in the bag for certain situations. Moving on to the mids. I carry a handful of mids. We'll start from understable to overstable. This is a baseline Westside Tersus, and it's a little tackly from hitting trees and stuff like that, but this thing is just super flippy. I use this for pretty much like tunnel hyzer shots, straight shots. I can put on a lot of hyzer angle, and it'll pop up and fly straight. It doesn't really deviate too much when I do that. Sometimes I can throw a roller with this if I need to throw a mid-range roller because of the understability, but I really like it. It's the baseline plastic always feels good to me. I have really dry hands, so this, like, it's grippy. Next up is the Discraft Meteor. The Meteor I have a kind of like love-hate relationship with, because the majority of Meteors I've thrown, I don't have a big arm. I don't have crazy arm speed, so they kind of are a little stable for me. But this one it just flies like it's money, because I throw it flat, it has a slight turn to it, and then it comes back, and I know if I hit it hard, it's never really gonna hyzer out on me, and it's gonna have a slight turn to it, but it's a pretty straight disc for the most part. I use this a lot on like 300 foot, 250 to 300 foot like tunnel holes, and it feels good also in the hand. Next up is the Buzz, Z Buzz. Everybody's throwing a Buzz. They're awesome. This is like my straight disc that it started out a little stable, but then I've been throwing this for like over a year now, so it's gotten to the point where if I throw it flat, it pushes super straight, and then it has that kind of like little gentle fade up end, and this is one of my most thrown mids. Next up is the Z Wasp. Super reliable disc. Headwind, tailwind, no wind. It's just, you know what it's gonna do. It's just a overstable disc. Not crazy overstable, but it's got a good amount of stability to it. If I need a disc to push and then finish left, then get like a nice little skip, the Wasp is ideal for me. Last mid. I don't use this too much, but the Buzz OS. Very overstable disc. It's got that bit more stability than the Wasp, and I'll pull this out for like headwind shots, flex shots, forehands if I need to go something that goes a little bit further than the zone, and it can handle a little angle on it. Like I said, I don't throw it too often, but there are definitely times where I need this disc and I go to the Buzz OS. Fairways, we'll do the same thing, go understable to overstable. I carry 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 fairways. PFN Star TL, super old disc I got from one of my buddies when I first started playing. Slight dome, nothing too crazy, but this disc is been beaten to a great flyer. I usually throw this flat. It gets a bit of turn to it, but it has a gentle fade back. So I throw this quite often in the woods because I just know the flight of it. It doesn't handle headwind. I don't really throw it into headwind too often because it gets a little bit and whatever. But I mean, the Star TL is a great disc. Next up, Latitude 64 River. Just bagged this disc. It's been a couple months. This thing's dead straight. I'm still kind of like figuring out in a sense because I'm not that consistent. So my flat varies from slight hyzer to a little anti, and it definitely shows when I miss, because when I throw it on hyzer, it just holds that low hyzer anti, it holds the anti. But when I hit it nice and flat, this thing goes, and it's a great flyer, and it feels good. Not crazy domey. It's got nice glide to it, and I mean, this gold plastic feels really, really good. Old trusty Star T-Bird. I got this disc when I first started playing. It's been beat up a little bit. The stability's not how a brand new T-Bird is, but it definitely still has reliable stability. So when I need to push something out there and have it fight back, it does, but it's not like a hard dump. You know, it's a nice gentle kind of fade, and great headwind disc. Just where you need a little hyzer, the T-Bird, ideal. Old champion JK Valkyrie. This was given to me by my buddy when I first started playing. The next two, actually. This one is become one of the staples in my bag. It doesn't really fly like a Valkyrie right out of the box. Those are usually stable for me. This thing has beautiful turn, and it comes back. And I mean, I hyzer flip this. It's one of those discs where like you've had for so long, you throw so often that like you feel real confident within your hand. And I mean, I love this disc. It's hard to find in the woods, but I try not to throw it like in real woodsy, thick brush, you know. But sometimes I have to because it just flies so well. Next up is the Old Star Roadrunner, and this is like, I feel like how Roadrunners are supposed to fly, right? It's just a hyzer flip dream, big turnovers. Sometimes when I'm in trouble in the woods, I know that I can throw this flat or like a touch of hyzer, and it's gonna pop up, and then it's gonna kind of like turn to the left and kind of come back. I think everybody needs a Roadrunner in their bag. It's a great disc. It's a great feeling disc in the hand, and they fly awesome. Another Roadrunner. This is one of the first Halo Roadrunners, and flies completely different from how normal Roadrunners are. This thing, out of the box, was really straight. It's like it flies like a beat-in T-Bird in a sense. So it was straight with a little bit of fade. It's gotten to the point now where it pushes straight, I'd say like 90% of the way, and then it just has this gentle kind of finish. So for straight shots, I trust this Halo Roadrunner a lot, and all my friends know that. I mean, I love this Halo Roadrunner. I get really bummed out when I lose this. Probably the first disc I bought, Star Valkyrie. This was my buddy told me to get Valkyrie. They fly great for beginners, and get like a 167-ish, like 165, because they'll fly good for me. This doesn't fly like a Valkyrie. This flies like a Thunderbird. It still flies like a Thunderbird. And I've had people throw them. They're like, that's a really beefy Valkyrie. It just got to the point where I'm comfortable enough with it where I don't look at it as a Valkyrie. I look at it more as kind of like a Thunderbird or like a beat-in Firebird. And I backhand this, you know, a lot when I need that nice hyzer finish. And it's still as stable as it is when I first bought it, which is really weird. Last two. Sexton Firebirds. This is the 2020 Sexton Firebird. This is like my go-to thumber, forehand, overstable backhand disc for a couple years, and it's gotten to the point where it's beat in pretty well. Where if I flick it, I usually use this to flick nice and flat. If I need a forehand to just push straight and then have a gentle little finish, but it still has that stability that you need. And I carry two Sexton Firebirds. This is 2021. This is more overstable, but the Sextons, like everybody knows, it's not as overstable as your regular Firebirds, and I have a slower arm speed, so this disc is ideal for me. It's still overstable where I can kind of crank it on like a little Annie with my forehands and it'll flex out, but it doesn't have that like crazy beef, and it just dumps. So like these are my go-to forehand fairways, and I have a bunch of these, so I'm set for life pretty much. Drivers, stepping up. My other forehand discs are Destroyers. This 2020 Calvin Destroyer, brand new. These discs are way too overstable for me, forehand or backhand. But this one I got used, and it flies like a beat-in destroyer. You know, like I don't backhand it too often. It's mostly forehand. It's like that other beat-in Firebird where I can put it flat and it pushes straight, and then has that reliable finish. I can throw it on a touch ante, try to flex it through the woods, and I've tried other 2020s and they're really overstable. They're nothing like this. So this thing has been beat in like really well, and it flies really good from 100 feet. And then the last destroyer is this fake Huck Lab that I died. It's just a stock run Star Destroyer. It's pop toppy. Still overstable. Like the first day I had it, this is my reliable forehand disc when I know I can just put on ante and it's gonna fight out of it, kind of no matter what, even in a headwind. And I like Domi destroyers for forehands. They glide really well. And I've lost this so many times and always comes back. And it's I love this destroyer. Distance driver, understable, it's overstable. I recently discovered West Side discs. I used to always throw just Innova, and then I branched out and did some Discraft and some other stuff, and now I'm on Trilogy, and I've discovered some really good discs, especially for my my backhand, because I don't have that much power. So a lot of the discs that were supposed to be understable were never understable. They were always still stable, and it was always such a pain trying to like buy these understable discs thinking they were, and they never really weren't for the most part. But I've come to realize like Trilogy, especially West Side, has a lot of understable discs straight out of the box, and it flies really good for my own speed. This Destiny is a used disc that I got. It was the first Destiny that I've thrown, and it's understable in like a good way, like super understable in a good way. Like I throw my rollers with this. I put it on a touch ante, and it'll lay down really nice. Roll hyzer flip shots through tunnels, big open fields. Like this was my max distance disc. Like I crank it hard on a bit of hyzer and it'll pop up and do its thing. I mean, check out West Side discs if you have slow arm speeds. You know, like the next few discs that I have are all West Side discs, and I've come to love them. It's really just like changed my game, and also like been less annoying trying to find understable discs, if that makes sense. Actually, I got two. Sorry. The West Side Disc King. I love this disc. These have taken over my slots for my Shrikes. I used to only throw like Shrikes for my understable distance drivers, but I would say like out of I would buy 10 Shrikes, and 2 of them would be understable to the likings that I want. Everything else would end up being like stable, and it's kind of annoying. Like I said earlier, these Kings, they're all max weight. And I used to throw like 160, 165, like 165, 167, stuff like that, because you know you want lighter discs for understable discs. They fly a little more understable. These are all max weight, and they come out of the box like understable flippy. This one is beat in, so if I throw this flat, I have to give it height for it to kind of give it time to pan out. But this mostly is a slight hyzer. It'll pop up, turn, and come back. Flies like a dream. These Misprint Kings, straight out of the box, it's just, I love them. Throw it flat, it has a slight turn to it, and it always comes back. And these were so consistent. I just keep trying to get my hands on more. I lose them too, you know, but I've got a good amount of backup, and I finally found a mold that out of the box is like the desirable like understability that I'm looking for in a disc. Next one is the West Side Disc Sorcerer. This thing is like out of the box, like dead straight, right? I can throw this flat, it turns slightly, and I can put a lot of power on it, and it just comes back. It's not like the King. The King has a little bit more turn, but this will turn slightly and come back, and I can feel confident like when there's a straight gap. If I throw this hard and flat, like it's gonna get there. And the glide on these West Side discs are awesome. If you put enough height on it, dude, they glide for like cliche days. Next disc I have, love these two, the swords. And these are also max weight. They've got such nice domes to them, and they glide forever. But this is like, for me, I spend a lot of time trying to find beat-in destroyers and pay like money for used destroyers. Like paid way too much for used destroyers because I wanted beat-in destroyers. That just sounded dumb after a while. So when I found these, gave these a try. Swords fly like beat-in destroyers. I throw like my max distance is like 350, 360, you know, or like I can get more distance if it's just like an open bomber. I'm giving it everything I have. But so that's the kind of arm speed I have. And these swords, I can rip them hard, flat, and they push straight for a really long time, but they still have that reliable finish to them. These are my favorite headwind discs if it's not more than like 10-mile headwinds, because when I throw it flat, they turn slightly. They fly like my Kings. They turn slightly and they come back, and you get crazy distance with these, and they feel really, really good. This is one of, between the Kings and the swords, these have been like my two favorite molds that I've just like discovered within the last 3-4 months, and I've got a whole stack of swords. Last disc is the only strikes that I throw anymore. Is these Halo strikes. For me, this is the equivalent to like a destroyer for a lot of people. It's overstable. I can trust it in a headwind. If I need a disc to come back to the right, if there's water, or to the disc to come back to the left and there's water to the right, I know if I can hang this out flat or even a touch of Annie or on a hyzer, it's always going to come back. This is definitely a reliable disc. They push. The reason why I throw the Halo strikes on a backhand as opposed to the destroyers, I get way more distance with the Halo strike. It's just, they're glidier for me. They just, I don't know, for my arm speed, they fly better, even though they're higher speed than the destroyers. And I mean, the Halo plastic feels good and it looks cool too. So that's the last of it. Thank you for joining me for my 2023 in the bag. I'll see you guys next time. If you have any questions, let me know.